Geez, are we on now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Are you sure?
all right, here we go. Sorry, I gotta adjust here. Hey, we're terrible. Hey guys, welcome to hold on. Remember, guys, I'm new. Hey, remember, guys, that to always look both ways. Oh no, that's the wrong card. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Nightmare Road. I, of course, am one of your hosts, Beacon, here with a very, very mysterious. Wait a minute, that person's not there. Here with the one and only.
Messy Jessie, and I am here with a wonderful and beautiful Ash.
The
I was gonna go
Oracle.
one and only. Ashley Oracle.
And I am here with the amazing, the fabulous, with the
And beautiful.
Sasquatch in the background, CIA agent, gorgeous,
Dirty
beautiful.
birdie.
Yay!
Dirty Birdie. And guys, before we get started here, I always feel like I have to make this announcement, okay? Because I have two things to say. Number one, if you guys are sensitive, if you guys are a little bit like, oh, I don't know if I like that, this is not the show for you, okay? This is a gritty show. This is a fun show, so you guys can go and watch that one guy do pranks on people, especially the one that got shot at the mall. And then something else. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. So you guys pay attention. If you're a man and you have puffy nipples, we don't want you here. Get your things and go. Because if somebody breaks into your house, your wife's not waking you up. She's going to go wake up the neighbor who's a real man. Anyways, so today's show...
Why are we so against puffy nipples?
What if they're
it's
pierced? Does that make it more?
No,
Yeah.
no, the puffiness comes from a low testosterone thing.
Okay,
Anyway,
but if they're
so
listen, if they're pierced, it's gonna like mask a little bit of the puffiness,
no, it doesn't.
right?
No,
Oh.
they'll ring like cowbells.
Yeah, not at all.
Damn.
Well,
No.
Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. If you have puffy
Okay, good to
nipples,
know.
you're gonna have to go.
it's a,
Yeah, turn it off. Go watch something else. Why don't you guys go watch that one British guy that yells at people while he's cooking?
Gordon Ramsay?
No, Hillary Clinton. Anyways, so
it's
I'm gonna go watch him. I'll go too.
um anyway, so today's episode is awesome. It's gonna be on the Black Eyed Kids. And I mean, before you guys start talking about like, oh, that's so sad, I don't mean the Black Eyed Kids. It was like, damn it, Mitch, I thought I told you twice. Come here. I mean,
God, I
the
knew that
paranormal,
was
the paranormal entity,
or the
So
What were you
black
talking
eyed
about?
peas.
no, wrong blacks eyes.
And
All right. Well, yeah. Anyway, so let's begin.
Da, 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 da.
ba-da-da-dum.
So Black Eyed
Okay.
Kids. So what do you guys
Who did their homework?
have? Homework. So who?
Econ doesn't believe in
can-
homework.
Fuck all that. So who can tell me what a Black Eyed Kid is? Again, remember what we're talking about.
They're spirits.
Can go off on Fergie.
Fake spirits. Some say they're
Did you
demons.
just say
They're,
You
you
said
say
Fergie.
they're a paranormal entity that shows up either at night or early in the morning and knock on your door and ask to be either on your car, window of your car, or your door and ask to be let in.
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
at first they look normal. They're like either like 6 years old to 15. They ask to be let in, and you think about it, and you're looking at them, and you look away, and when you look back, their eyes are totally black, and yeah, and you
So that
slam the door,
wasn't
and
the
you're like,
missionaries
nope,
that knocked
nope,
on my
nope,
door.
not today, nope.
Just
Yeah.
those weren't black-eyed kids. I'm sorry.
No, those were
Some other kind of demon.
those were Mormons.
Oh my god. Then-
No, and there's a lot of stories about them. Like for example, um, let's see, somebody on our YouTube chat said, "Be a man." Well, always. Jeez. Um. Oh boy.
Ghost agrees.
How do I do that? Yeah, Ghost agrees. That was actually Roland the bastard. Anyway, so yeah, there's a story where this lady gets a knock at 11 o'clock at night, right? So she gets a call, a knock on the door, I mean, and then she opens and there's these kids. And they're like, "Can we please come inside and use the bathroom?" And oh no, at first they said, "Can we please come inside and use your phone?" So she goes, "Sure," so she goes inside and then brings the cell phone to them and they kind of stare at her and they look at the phone and he says, "Can we please come inside and use your bathroom?" Like they immediately change the story. So she says, "Yeah, you can." So she lets them in and, she gets this weird feeling, like this feeling of dread, like she's immediately just engulfed with this negative emotion. And she's like, "I don't know, this doesn't feel right." So at the same time, she hears a sound come from upstairs, like a yell or a scream. And she looks over and she's going to tell the kids, "I'll be right back." There's no kids in sight. They came in, they walked in, and they were standing there. She goes, she hears a sound, turns out there's no one there. She runs up the stairs, and her husband's sitting there terrified. He probably has some puffy nipples. So he's sitting there, right, and he's terrified. And then she's like, "What are you screaming about?" And he can't talk. He's just, like, finally, he calms down enough. And then she's talking to him, and he said that he saw two kids standing at the edge of the bed, and they look at him and they said, "We come here because you need to be collected." And then he screams and they disappear. So then that's not the end of the story. So then the husband begins to feel really like sick. So he gets really sick. They're still looking for these kids throughout the house. Like, where did they go? There's no signs that there's of them anywhere. So he goes to the doctor the next day. Turns out he has now a malignant tumor in his brain. And that's the end of the story. Yeah, that's it.
I remember that story. Yeah.
Oh,
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, there's
That's
tons of them.
insane.
yeah. I think it's really interesting about like the physical description of these black-eyed children. I mean, some witnesses are like, they give like very descriptive differences with them, but all of them kind of have like the usual pale coloristic skin, and they're wearing sometimes modern clothes or Mennonite clothes. So if nobody knows what Mennonite clothes, they're like
outdated clothes,
like Children of the Corn. That's what I think of.
Yeah,
when I see them.
That's the best description.
Yeah, but they're black-eyed and pale.
Yeah, and they're either pale or they have like olive skin, or some even say they have like a greenish skin. But they don't notice because it's late at night and they blame the lighting, or they, until finally they either let them in or they get really agitated because they're not let inside. Just like, what's interesting is a lot of their descriptions and their behavior kind of reminds me of the Men in Black, how they have like they have no concept of modern things. Like, for example, this guy, the kids, same thing, knocking the door, a little girl and a little boy, and they're asking like, we need to contact our mother. Can we please come inside? And the guy said, "Well, the phone is connected to this was obviously back in the days when, you had the phone was corded,
right,
and you couldn't just take it outside."
Phones.
So then he said, "Hey, just here." And then he gives them a pen and he gives them a piece of paper and he said, "Write down your phone number and I'll give them a call." And one of them grabs the pen and just like the Men in Black, just kind of stares at it, holds it in front of his face and just kind of like looks at it and is analyzing it. And then when the guy's like, "What the hell is going on?" So he goes to get his wife, like, "You can talk to these weird kids." And then he goes and there's no one there. A lot of these stories come from it's wintertime and there's no footprints at all in the snow that's in front of so these kids apparently walked across without leaving any prints.
Yeah, I've heard stories. of these black-eyed kids showing up on doorsteps. They knock on the door and they're like, "Oh, we're cold. Can you let us in? Use the bathroom or use the telephone?" And the homeowner just looks at him, looks away for a second, looks back, and they sees the black eyes, and they're like, "Nope." Slam the door, lock it, and they're still knocking, still knocking, still knocking, and the homeowner's just like, "Nope, nope, nope." And they hear him walk away, and they peek out the curtain, and they see him go into a black sedan with blacked out windows.
They're joining Jim
Right, the
Belushi
Men in
and
Black. Yeah, the Men in Black. They're like little hitmen.
Yeah,
Yes.
I wonder.
I want to
That's
be like
interesting, too.
Conspiracy.
like-
Oh.
yeah, like Jim Belushi and Overdose.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So, like, I was reading something too that they like come in pairs to be more intimidating, and usually one is like the older one, and that's the one
Yeah.
that tries to be more, intimidating, and the younger is supposed to look like a sweet innocent child that comes to the door, asking for help, which I
Yep.
found that was pretty interesting.
Oh, that's a tactic. That's called bait.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
as a
no.
society, if you see a little boy or a little girl come up to your doorstep and knock on the door and they're, "Please help me. I'm so sweet and innocent. I need to use your phone."
Jesus,
No.
it sounds like that. No.
And you're like, no. And then like, "Well, I'm going to go get my big brother."
Go
Get
for
your
I wonder
big
it.
brother.
what excuse they would use now.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I've heard well, there was one where they wanted to, come into the house, and they basically said something like, "We want to read," or something like, "Can we please come inside and read?"
Ew. No.
Yeah, at that point you can't. Yeah,
I'd close and say, "I don't got no books."
In 2025, so when it's like kids come up to your doorstep and they're like, "We want to read," and you're like, "You grew up
Do
on
you,
iPad.
though?
Are you serious? Nobody reads now."
Or a Kindle.
yeah,
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
want a Kindle or? Just kidding. I don't own a Kindle. I actually read books still.
I think that it was in a military base, wasn't it? That they tried coming inside.
Mine favorite one is the movie theater one. Have you guys heard that one?
Oh yes, yeah, that one creeps me out.
Yeah.
That's why I
he's
like to sit clear at the top with the wall facing on my back.
What is?
Oh, I don't think we're talking the same one then. I think we have
Yeah.
different movie
I
theater
have got
ones.
chills because of that one.
So the one that I've heard, I think I've heard multiple times on different podcasts. So this guy drives up to a movie theater. Okay, I think he was driving past it or he was parked near it. So he has
this one,
these
yeah.
3 kids come up and say, "Hey, we need money for the movie theater. We need to call our mom for money," something along those lines. And so I think he offers to give them money for the movie or offers to use his phone. And they did the same thing. They looked at him like, "Let us in your vehicle. Just let us in." Like they keep telling him, "Let us in." They're knocking on his vehicle. And he looks at him and he sees the black eyes. And so he obviously is scared and is like, "I'm not dealing with this. I don't care how old you are." Gets into his, starts his truck up, rolls up the window.
But I'm a black-eyed cat. Get off of
And
me.
then he hurries and drives away. But when he looks in his rearview mirror, all 3 of the children were gone. And the movie had already started. It was already an hour into the movie. So he knew they weren't going to see the movie.
I remember this story. This happened in the early 90s. And do you remember what movie it was?
A Mortal Kombat movie.
19
Mortal
Kombat.
And to be honest,
Wow.
if the black-eyed kids miss that movie, they're not missing much. It was horrible.
Well, no, it was good. I like that. The martial arts
I
was
used to
pretty
play
cool. I
that.
think it was
awesome.
who was the guy? was it James Casamassa that played Scorpion? He was a legitimate martial artist. Anyways, the point is that it's so bizarre because I wonder if there's almost like a type of hypnosis because these individuals they come up to you, they get in your house, or they're able to walk up to you. Sorry, this cat is driving me insane. They're able to do all these things, and you don't notice the black eyes until finally either you snap out of it, or until maybe they want to show you what they. And here's another detail that's interesting: is they say that the moment that the eyes are black, that all of a sudden there's a smell of sulfur that just fills the room. But you don't smell it until the eyes are, revealed to be like all black. So I wonder if it's like a form of hypnosis, like you're hypnotized with it. Jeez, man, what are you doing? Sorry, guys, I'm fighting with this cat.
I don't think I've ever read a story though where somebody has actually let them in.
Yeah, was that the story in the beginning?
When you let them in?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of stories where the first one was the guy that gets the brain tumor, right? The second one was they were like in a car, I think, and this boy comes up and he like knocks on the window, tick, 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 and the lady she opens, she kind of just like rolls on the window and she goes, she's like, "Excuse me, can I get a ride?"
Mm-hmm.
So one of the stories is that she's like, "Yeah, hop in." And she lets but this was only one boy. That's what's interesting about the story is that normally there's two or there's three, but in this one, it was only the one. So this thing gets in the car with the child in the back seat. And she's like, "All right, well, where are we going? Where do you live? Or where do you need a ride to?" And then there's no answer. So she pulls over, looks back, and her son's having a violent seizure,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And is about having a violent seizure, and then she rushes him to the ER, and they don't know what the cause is, but if she wouldn't have brought him in, this kid would have died, and some people believe it's almost like they're like a form of maybe the Grim Reaper or something. That's one theory.
I can see that.
There's a few
To me,
other
that's
things too.
Like, what do you think, Messy Jesse?
So
Yeah.
I was reading, and of course, along my background is they've been known to have like psychic or telepathic abilities. These black-eyed kids, and they've been reported like children staring at it with silent communication. So they don't talk to each other. They have like this silent communication, according to some
creepy.
Reports, and they've tracked individuals from like town to town, and that's what they're reporting. Like these kids just look at each other. It's like they're talking telepathically, and they also can like sense your emotions and like what you're thinking is what it was interesting. And it's like a hypnotic pull they do on their victims as well. So it's like they hypnotize them.
Oh yeah. I was just reading a story on Reddit about someone who has had a black-eyed kid encounter, and he was saying that him and his little brother were downstairs in the basement, and they're watching TV, and they hear a knock at the window of the basement, and the little brother, for whatever reason, runs up and flips the curtain open and sees this little girl standing doing this in the window, going, let me in.
Oh boy, dude, you would be the creepiest. Jeez, black-eyed kid.
Oh my gosh, that would be. But they've been known to like track their victims too. Like,
damn it, Birdie.
Yeah.
But the big brother is like absolutely. The rule of the house is like absolutely. Their parents are gone, so he's like the big brother's like absolutely not. And this little brother was like, no, I got to let her in. And they actually wrestled for an hour.
Oh boy!
To stop from letting the little brother and let this
damn it.
in. And when the parents came home, they're hearing them they're hearing them tussle downstairs. And I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Fighting over.
The little brother's like, oh, there's a little girl out there that wants to be let in. And they flip the curtain open, nobody's there. And then all of a sudden he's just like, meh, okay, it's over. And the big brother like brought this up years later. He's like, do you remember what happened? He's like, no, I don't. I have no idea what happened.
Whoa.
Yeah.
He's like, we wrestled for like an hour and you wanted to let this thing in. You don't remember that? And he's like, nope, no recollection.
That's weird.
Damn. And do you think that it was like this kid was like an RC car and that black-eyed kid was like a remote control? Like, just let me in. Come on. Just open the door.
Oh my gosh,
No.
that's almost like Three Little Pigs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me in. Fuck, dude. Don't do that. Jeez.
Stop it, both of you.
Well,
Not by
We
the
got
hair of my chinny chin
the
chin.
younger one down here.
just open the door. Just let me in.
Seriously, hair of my chinny chin chin.
Gross.
So it's damn. It's one of those things where you get so many different theories because it's almost like they cover all the bases of the behaviors. You know, like the people that believe they're extraterrestrials. You know, and that whole thing is they don't recognize you know, like I think one of them was they handed them like just see, and again, it's almost like they're blending the black-eyed kids with the Men in Black because both cases they handed them Jello. You know, they handed them Jello with a fork, and the first thing they do is number one, they stare at the Jello, and they take the fork, and they're kind of analyzing the fork, and they don't know what to do with it.
They're like,
You know, yeah,
They're like,
and they don't know what to do. And then it was only until like finally they get irritated enough that the eyes, they're black, and then you could just get filled with terror, you know, and then your instinct is, damn, it's just. And the other one is, of course, the demonic. How they're like, well, you know, they're demons, you know, and they come here to torment you, and that's what they want, and hence they're able to like almost possess you to like want to open. Because that story with Big Brother and Little Brother, that's why would you fight so hard? In the end, it doesn't even matter. Anyway, so why would you fight so hard to try to let, you know what I mean, and like not really say anything, you know? Just like I got, you know, and then later it's, you know, it's just so bizarre to the point that you would fight, you know, like your Hulk Hogan, you know, you start getting like ramped up and you're like, I gotta get this, let me open this door, brother, you know. So, and it's not the first story that let me tell you something, brother.
So what you're saying is keep Jello in the fridge, and when a stranger comes up to your door,
no, man, no,
and it doesn't matter if it's the mailman, throw it at him.
No, that's not what I'm saying at
That
all.
sounds like a great idea.
You would be the worst Krav Maga instructor. Anyway, so no, but so another story that's just like that was same thing. Knocks on the door. I think this time they were fucking accents. Sometimes these were two teenagers, and they're at the door, right? And yeah. Okay.
Sorry. It happens when you're a DeLorean. I don't know.
I wish I was a black-eyed kid.
Messy Jesse, you gotta say it how you said it yesterday.
I said, how is Decon so awesome when he is a DeLorean? The DeLorean. Am I wrong?
Sorry. We were
Sorry.
talking about you when you weren't even there.
Anyway, so
Sorry.
Shut the door.
damn.
Okay, that's where you're at.
Shut the door. Okay, so anyway, so teenagers, right? They want to come inside because they're cold. They're like, we're cold, you know. And then the woman's like, and then the woman's like, hold on, let me call someone, or let me whatever it was, and she shuts the door, right? And they're standing out there, And I don't remember if it was her husband or her oldest son, but he's walking towards the door to just open it. And she's kind of like, what do you, and she's kind of same thing. They're not wrestling, but she's kind of has to like stand in a way. And he's just like out there walking with the door, with the hand, like extended, like just open the door. So then after a minute, after they're, she reasons with him, then all of a sudden they smell the sulfur. They're like, it reeks, and then she opens the door, and now that she sees the black eyes, and she shuts the door, and then looks through the window, no one's there. So it's almost as if, it's almost as if when they are either done cloaking themselves, if you want to use that term, if they're done cloaking themselves, is when they show who they really are or what they really are, like with the black eyes and the smell, or if they only have a limited amount of time. You know what I'm trying to say? And maybe that's why they bail. Yeah. Just like the Men in Black. Like the Men in Black, right?
I remember a description of when the Men in Black were harassing that guy to the point that he was almost mentally broken, and he goes upstairs from a movie. He's scared shitless because one of these things, a Men in Black, showed up at the movie theater. Goes running up to his upstairs to his bedroom, and then another one shows up, and just all this stuff happens, and he smells sulfur.
See,
it's almost like a demonic thing, or they're popping in and out of dimensions, and the sulfur smell is the after smell of popping out of a dimension or in one.
When I think sulfur, I instantly think negative, and it's just instant.
Or either that somebody had beans.
See, this is a serious show, and
since when?
I'm just saying.
So,
are you drunk?
Who?
You.
Me?
Yeah.
You who?
It's not, this is not the point. Anyway, so you see
everything.
So the thing is that I wonder if wherever these beings come from, if the dimension, whatever the hell it is, whether it's the Men in Black, whether it's a demonic entity, like maybe the realm which they step through smells like sulfur, because what do you associate sulfur with? Burning and all that kind of stuff, right?
Gross.
So so maybe that's where they come from. Maybe that's why they disappear. It's because once you smell sulfur, it's like almost like the portal is pulling them back. When is the first report of them? I believe the first report was the most popular one was the Mortal Kombat one.
Right.
It was
Was it that one?
Texas.
Yeah, that the guy was what? Okay, let me see if I remember the article correctly. I haven't read this in years, but supposedly, supposedly he was writing a check, I believe, and he was using the dim light of whatever to write a check. So, yeah, right. He's probably waiting for his drug dealer. So he says he was writing a check in the dark, and then he was approached by these kids. I think that was the first report, and I think he published it, didn't he? In the newspaper?
He wrote a whole big story about that. But I also found out that they go all the way back to 1940s.
Yeah.
Oh,
there was
really?
one in Virginia in the 1950s that was reported in the Appalachian Mountains.
Oh, I saw that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, that's what I'm saying, that was like the first official reporting of, or maybe it was the first time it was coined, the Men in Black, the Black-Eyed Kids. But there seems to be also stories out there, like from the 18 to 1700s, that give kind of the same description. And like, for example, in some, I forget what tribe it was. Oh man, I hate going into Indian stories. I think it might have been the Cherokee. I think the
Cherokee. Holy shit.
I think it was the Cherokee. Okay, so the Cherokee believe that when you go and you wage war against another tribe to kind of push them off, when you come back, you can't just come back into camp. You have to stay there and kind of like purge yourself of all not just the gore that you just, because the massacres were amazing, and not in a good way. So the gore, but also like the negativity. They believe that when you kill somebody, you like take in their essence, and they call that the shadow self. You know, so eventually there's like a type of ritual that you do where you cleanse yourself. So then when you come back to camp, you no longer have that clinging to you. So every once in a while they had like a person which they, in a way, they kind of sacrificed, because that energy just stays there, right? And if you're close enough, and I believe the Cherokee was, there was very few tribes that stayed in a certain place, because a lot of these Indians would travel because they were following, different migration patterns and all that, but they stayed in one place for most of the time. So they'd send one person out there, and this person's job was to go out there to the area where you dumped all that negativity, and he kind of takes it in, and it inhabits his body, and then he can't return. He just walks into the wilderness and just wanders off.
Interesting.
So a lot of people believe that type of shaman later becomes so negative that that's where a lot of people attribute the skinwalker just to the Navajo, but that's not true. I mean, that's the skinwalker is in many different, not just tribes, but also different cultures. Like, for example, in El Salvador, you have skinwalkers too. You have witches that turn into animals, and you have, so it's not just a Navajo thing, like people saying it's a Navajo story. No, it's not. It's everywhere. So they're the ones that just wouldn't stop talking about it. Even though it's super secretive, it's like, oh, don't talk about it, but I'm going to tell you a story. There was this guy, and it's like, well, then it's so secretive. Why the hell are you telling everybody? So anyway, so some people believe that these people that walk off become, because I think originally, I'm not entirely sure, but I think they were shaman, and that they were already shaman. And they're like, okay, I'm going to take everything and I'm just going to wander off. And they become like dark and all that kind of stuff. And then they have stories where sometimes these things come back. And they come back, and it says that their eyes are abysmal. They're just dark and there's nothing there. That person is no longer existing. And they come and they bring disease, and they bring death, and they bring all kinds of things. So they don't necessarily say they're
child.
It doesn't specify if they're children. It could be children, but it mostly just specifies that they have these empty children, these empty eyes. Bring me the children. These empty eyes. All right. Okay. So that they have no life behind them, and it's just pitch black. And some of the descriptions, then they come and they bring disease with them, and they bring bad luck, and they bring death, and all kinds of stuff. So you get stuff like that. You get, for example, in Scotland, it's almost like these things are there to warn you that someone in the house is going to die. So they show up at your door, dum, 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 they knock on your door. And in some stories, when you open the door, they don't say a word. They stare at you, and then they walk away. Right? And then you're like, what the hell was that? And then a couple days later, somebody gets really, really sick, or they die. And it's almost like they bring bad omens. In other instances, they want to come inside, and that means everybody in the house is going to die, or everybody in the house is going to get very, very sick. And it's just creepy stories. But I wonder, why is it that at least in the United States, like modern, like that's the description that everybody, like, why now? Was it always around? There was just no reporting, or what I'm trying to say?
I almost kind of
like
wonder. They make me wonder if aliens, like, are they like demons, or are they aliens?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but why would an alien come and just like, tell you everybody's gonna die and then leaves? You know what I mean?
I mean,
it's
why
like
not?
It's like the bad, because it's like the bad version of E.T. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like instead of E.T. coming in
a really bad wig.
Ding dong.
Yeah, yeah, he just like comes and he has his finger, and instead of healing you, he makes you really sick when he fingers you. No, it's just bizarre. Like the whole.
What?
We lost Ash.
I'm still here. Go on. Sorry, I had to get a drink.
I think there's aliens.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
To be the alien thing doesn't. Number one, I don't believe in aliens, but
What?
I don't.
Stop
If-
it now.
No, if an alien showed up at my house and knocked on a door, I'd punch him in the stomach. And I think that aliens, just like any human being, when you punch them in the stomach, they all make the same sound. They go, Anyway, no, I don't buy it. I don't buy the alien story. So why are you threatening
Huh?
violence?
You heard that? Sorry.
So the whole thing with the extraterrestrials makes no sense to me. Like, why? To me, the demonic makes more sense. They come in, they mess. And demonic aliens, I don't think so. Because then why would they be? You know what I'm trying to say? No, it's stupid.
You
And they all have
can't
to-
possibly believe we are
And
the only
they-
life form in the universe.
Have
There's
you
Yeah,
no
I believe-
not
way.
played Doom?
I believe no. No, see,
Doom is
no.
demonic aliens.
I think I saw the movie once, but anyway.
Oh my god.
I've seen Spaceballs.
had The Rock.
Does that count?
That's a good movie.
Ludicrous. No, it's I don't know. To me, it makes no sense. Like, I don't think it would be aliens. I think that demonic is more of a possible thing. Then you have the whole theory behind it that just like the Greys, we're going back to how they say that the Greys are not really aliens, but they're like androids that are remotely controlled by
What?
by other. You've never heard that the Greys, the aliens, the Greys, that they're not actual beings, or more like robots, and
No, I've
they're
never
sent
heard
to
that
like
theory.
Kind of like AI,
Yeah.
So drones.
Creepy.
they're more like drones, because they supposedly we don't have the atmosphere for those kind of things to survive, so they send robots. They send robots, just like we send a Mars rover.
Robots.
They send robots. So same thing with
Person and
these
robots.
black-eyed kids. Yeah, robots. Same thing with the black-eyed kids.
What if they're
How
robots?
that's a theory that's what I'm saying. That's one of the theories, is that they're like, well, these humans seem to have a soft spot for kids, but aliens apparently are so dumb they can't get the very basics down. It's like, well, what do eyes look like? I don't know. I guess just give them all black eyes, or make them creepy. Like, do you have, like, the guy that programmed them is so dumb that he was just kind of like, so what are the interactions? Hello, cell phone, or
It's
hello,
just like there's
telephone.
more holes to go in than just
Kids
one.
visiting him.
Why do they have to
Black-eyed
do
kids
the
are
other
coming.
Hold on, one at a time. You guys.
I know.
So no, but you.
How should we dress? Junko jeans and corn shirts. Hot Topic, circa 1990.
And
Are
go.
you like talking about my high school style right now? What's wrong with you?
It's outdated. Just saying.
Oh, well,
That's how.
You're a black-eyed kid. So no,
Probably.
it's just
how do you know I'm not?
I lost my train of thought. Crazy.
So does the dog. The dog's like, woof. Me too.
No, but in speaking of animals, sorry guys, I'm kind of having a moment here. So speaking of animals, Roland, there's a couple stories. I'm not going to say one, but there's a couple stories where the animals are acting insane in the house. Like the dogs are growling, the cats are hiding, and they're like, "What the hell is going on?" Like, why are we doing? Roland, come on, man! You are too damn old to be acting this way. You're 8. How dare you?
He's just
Anyway,
a black-eyed kid.
Yeah, he's gonna have a black eye soon. So where the animals are acting crazy, and then the guy's like, "What is wrong with the what? Why is?" And then literally 3 minutes later, there's a knock on the door. Tung 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 tung. Have you guys ever heard of any time when they ring the doorbell? It's always knocking, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's always knocking.
Yeah, it's always not. I've never heard
it's
of
always-
doorbell.
It's always not. And and I say that because there's a story where they're knocking, dun 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 dun, no rhythm either, just dun 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 dun, stops, dun 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 dun. Like for a long time, he's like, what the hell is
Kept
going
doing
on?
it.
So he just kept doing it over and over. So finally, the guy goes and he's annoyed. He opens the door and then he says, "You know, we have a doorbell." And they kind of like just stare and he points at the doorbell and they kind of look at it. And instead of like pressing it, he kind of just like strokes it in a way, just like puts his finger on it and just kind of does something like this. And he's just kind of like doing that. And the guy's like, that was weird, you know, and they behaved because there was two of them and they behaved confused as if it's like, I don't think have they ever seen a doorbell before? That's weird. Like they're kids. Of course they've seen doorbells. So then finally the guy was so pissed off that he was like, you know, and then he goes to yell at him some more and they're gone. And he's like, the hell? Like, and he's like, looks around, looks outside, looks around the perimeter to find where because they can't just disappear like that. And he said that he was so pissed off because of the way that they were knocking that I think that maybe they sensed like aggression and they're like, okay, this person is not going to be an easy victim. And instead of giving the whole, can we please come inside? They didn't even give him that script. They just disappeared.
Yeah.
You know, and then he talks about the smell. Like that later, the only thing that lingered was the smell, you know, the sulfur. And you're like, oh, that was weird.
Well,
and
there was one story too when you're done. I found about the Appalachian one.
That's pretty ballsy of a guy to just be sitting in his house and chilling out and probably like what, Saturday, Sunday, watching TV and just bam, 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 bam. And you go out to the front porch and you swing open the door and there's two little kids there and you swing open the door and you're like, doorbell! We have a doorbell! And then slam the door
He
shut.
did so well.
You know, did you submit that story? I'm beginning to think that's you. No, but then
he takes some Jello.
yeah, here, take your damn Jello. Here's Bill Cosby. You know,
all I got is green.
Well, you take a little dick. It is so.
Oh man.
So it's just one of those things. Oh, here's another quick thing. This guy might have been intoxicated. Might have had something to drink or something like that, and maybe that's why the fear didn't engulf him. You know what I'm trying to say? Like his senses were already dull. So maybe that's why he was ballsy. Maybe because he just had that liquid courage. You know, you know what I mean? We have a door
during a football game. He's probably like, damn it.
He's probably
damn it. Or
he's probably got
WWF.
a old
WWF.
One malt scotch. He's enjoying it, and he's had a hard day, and then someone's banging on his door.
Yeah,
I'd be pissed off too.
And then he opens it up, and there's two little kids, and he's like, "Oh, you little shits!" Doorbell. We have
I don't want no
doorbell.
Girl Scout cookies
And then
today.
watching him go like, try to pet it, and he's like, "Nope." Slam the door. Go back to watching football or whatever.
So Matt wants to know if there's any after stories.
Yes, there is a couple. The one where, okay, so the one about the kid in the car that was, you know, really sick. That was basically an after story. Like after the encounter, after it was gone, they, you know, went to the ER and all that kind of stuff. And then what ended up happening was this boy apparently kept seeing someone like either in his room or in his dreams. I don't recall specifically, but the same little boy, you know, that got in the car for almost a year, just like having nightmares and having visitations. This other person who allowed him in because one of the kids was soaking wet and it was, you know, and that, okay, so that's another story. Okay, so another story was, I'm sorry, guys. Another story was that they knocked on the door and opens the door and these kids are soaking wet. And it's cold out, right? It's snowing or whatever it is. And they're like, oh, holy shit, we got to get these kids in the house. So, and they're worried because these kids are not shivering, right? And then they're like, okay, these kids are past the point. Because when you're cold, if you're shivering, it's good. Your body is, you know, trying to create and retain heat. When you stop shivering, that's when you're fucked. You know, that's when your body's now beginning to shut down. It's like, all right, well, let's put you to sleep. So this person was worried about,
when your this person go white.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I'm a girl now. I swear it's bigger. No, and so this person didn't see like the the kid's shivering, so they bring him in. You know, they're trying to talk to him like, "Are you okay?" And they just stare at him. You know, and then finally she's like, "Okay, well, I'm calling 911 because you kids need medical attention now." Calls 911, looks over, there's no one there. There's no trace of water anywhere, and to think these kids were dripping, right? These kids were soaked,
Yeah.
and no traces of water anywhere in the house at all. So this person, Roland, you're killing me, man. So this person got really sick like that night. You know, violent vomiting, all that kind of stuff. Eventually started vomiting blood and developed stomach cancer. You know,
Jeez.
so and then every night would kind of see the shivering, not the shivering, but see the kids in her dreams. You know, these kids were there every night. So this person wasn't getting sleep. So this person started, you know, was getting therapy, was getting chemo, was getting all the stuff that needed to occur until the cancer was gone, that this person stopped seeing these kids in her dreams. You know, it was almost as if these kids were like maybe the cancer. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mhm.
Does that make any sense?
That's
Yeah.
weird.
Well, yeah, you just said that in a couple
Wow.
stories ago that the guy got a tumor.
Yeah,
Mhm.
brain tumor.
Not the first time I've heard of people having a visit from these things, and they get some kind of cancer, like like these things just burst radiation. They get cancer, and they die.
Do you think it's
Usually,
radiation?
It's radiation.
Huh. Wow, that's a damn. You know how much radiation they have to
Wow.
be emitting? And that's another thing. That would be a very interesting thing to test out. You know, like, yeah, go get cancer. No, if you get a black-eyed kids, I wonder if you have like an old-timey like watch, you know, the kind that has got the hands, not the, you know, the Apple computer watch or anything like that. But and then if you get close to them to see if your watch actually stops, like through the radiation, you know, like, oh damn, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it sounds like a gamma radiation burst, because that's the
Yeah.
strongest form of radiation, and it's quick. And everybody has cancer cells in their body. All it
Yep.
takes to set it off is a little kickstart, which would be
Mhm.
Yeah.
gamma radiation.
Yeah, your body keeps it. So, and for those of you out there that think that radiation gives you superpowers and not cancer, anyway,
Or like
So-
Fallout.
Here is your TED Talk.
yeah, radioactive fallout. That's another topic that we can talk about.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know, the after effects of a nuclear war. And so, yeah, it's just damn. It's just one of those things where it makes me think: are they radioactive, and you get these horrible diseases from them just radiating? You know, or are they there to tell you that you have a horrible disease coming your way and it's happening right now? Are they what the Indians believe they were? You know, like these persons are bringing diseases, or in Scotland where like they're coming here to warn you that there's a
Maybe
horrible
they're-
disease and death coming.
Maybe they're angel of deaths.
Yeah.
Portents of death, I would think. An angel of death
Like,
would just be
You
show
know,
up and
the
be
Grim
like,
Reaper,
Yeah,
he's really busy. You know,
Yeah,
he's
well,
like,
yeah.
hey, I'm going to bring these children.
Hey, send these two little freaks. Send them over to Deacon's house. Knock on the door. Excuse me, sir. Can we come inside and read? Get out of here, you little nerd. What do I look
Can
like,
we
a
get some
librarian? I
sugar?
shut the door. Yeah, you're
Oh,
doing.
right.
No, we don't have Kool-Aid.
You do have
The
a
only
lot
time
of
death
books,
himself
so
visits you
basically
is
a
if you're a
library.
wizard.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like, look, man. Hey, listen. Between you and me, it's not a good idea for kids to be coming inside my house. You know, just get the hell out of here. No, it's just one of those things where it's such a dark topic, because there's also another theory that once you look into them enough and they're in your head, you're next. They come knocking
Yep.
on your door.
Yep. If you learn about them, you'll see them eventually.
Well,
Perfect.
Yeah. Whether
Awesome.
it's, and they don't necessarily have to come to your door. You could see them anywhere in public. So there's another story, now that you say that. There's another story where this guy was up all night researching about the black-eyed kids and watching interviews and listening to stories and reading all that kind of stuff because he was gonna do whatever the hell it was. So
Sounds like my week.
he's so eventually he's out in public, in the store, and he says that in the distance he just saw this kid, and he couldn't see if his eyes were black, but his skin was pale, and he was just staring right at him. And he says that he felt like he was looking like right into his eyes, into his soul, and just standing there, just staring until he blinked, and then he was gone.
That's crazy.
So basically, I should not look into the mirror.
No, don't do that. So all of you guys, I'm sorry, but you guys are fucked.
There is one story I was reading on that there was a 16-year-old boy that was outside of his home, and this is that one in Appalachia. I was just gonna tell you guys really quick. He was leaning, this black-eyed kid supposedly was leaning up against a fence, and this boy Harold was walking home on the afternoon, and he came across this other boy, and this black-eyed kid attempted to talk to him, and the boy stated to Harold, he goes, "I want to go to your house. You're going to take me to your house." I'm like, that's really creepy, for one. And the boy's like, "No, I'm not taking you to my house." And he kept persisting. And the boy started running home, and he heard this kid like, "Now don't you run away from me. You're going to walk me up to your house." So I guess he ran away, and he heard like a bobcat scream behind him, like a scream, like a pinching scream. And it frightened the guy, Harold, so bad that his parents went out to look for it, could not find anything. No sign, no nothing.
Wow.
Well, Birdie,
He's a black-eyed kid.
What
the hell's wrong with your camera there, sir?
I don't know.
Isn't that thing
Where
supposed to
did you
detect
go?
motion?
Doing motion.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's pointing at the corner in your room. Well, that's promising. Detects motion up there.
Not creepy
Um,
at all. Thanks, Birdie.
All right, so I thought that you were gonna go a different direction with that story, so I'm gonna tell a story that's not related to the black-eyed kids.
Well, there's Ghost
So-
Birdie. He must be gonna go
Getting
eat
abducted
some Jello.
I'm
by a
stuck
sexual
in-
predator.
I
Um,
don't know what's going on here.
So when I was a kid, there was a storm, and I was running home. And the number one rule in storms is don't go underneath trees, right?
Well, yeah.
So I'm running, and I see this other kid, and he's underneath this tree. He's kind of like this underneath the tree, and I was like, damn, that kid, So I was like, should I? Nah, just leave him alone because I was a kid. So I ran home. The next day, I'm doing my runs. I gotta go get some stuff done. I run past, and I see that same kid. He's just like sitting on that tree. I go, and I was like, oh, that kid's still there. So I go, and then I go back. I go about my day. Later that afternoon, I was talking to my dad, and then he says, "Oh, estaba vos? Were you over there?" And I go, "Yeah." He says, "Oh yeah, just stay away from that area for now." And I go, "Why?" Santos kid, el hijo de Santos. And I go, "Yeah, he was struck by lightning, and they have to go gather his body, so stay away from there."
Oh my hell.
Yeah.
Davey,
wow.
I don't know what's going on with your camera, but it's creepy.
I don't know.
Okay,
Trying to
but
fix
my computer keeps kind of glitching too.
Well, my old friend, I didn't think that I needed you, but looks like it's time for my witch killing blade. Be ready.
Bro,
All
really?
kinds of
Come on.
supernatural creatures. Anyway, no, it's just it's one of those things that it's
You
su-
got him off. Look what you did.
You're
I like
full.
this.
You'll kill us all. Yeah.
Oh
here.
my.
Damn. I guess that there's so many different stories, and they all have the same concept, but the details are a little bit different. And I think also throughout history, I mean, like I said, you don't see anything that specifically describes them as like black-eyed kids, but I think that it's in there. Like if you read enough, you're like, okay, this is what this could be. throughout history and throughout different cultures. Do I believe they're real? I think they could be, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And so
Never know
And
until you
it's
run into
interesting.
one.
yeah. So for those of you, if you guys just see a bunch of like kids out there and they're pale, just punch them. Just it's better to be safe than
Eat 'em.
sorry. You know what I mean? Just punch them. What do you want? What do you want? A brain tumor? No, just punch them. Just begin. You guys ever played Street Fighter?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the Russian character Zangief?
Yes.
That was
Mhm.
when the little plane would
I
fly.
chose the girl one.
USSR.
Wait, yeah,
You know.
I do remember that one. Okay.
Remember that move he used to do when he used to spin around in a circle, like with his fists?
He's like,
Yes.
Yeah, he just spin around a circle. Yeah, just like, but
Yeah.
just do that. Whenever you see kids, in a like, if there's two of them and they look creepy and they look pale, just spin around with your fist and just knock, just do the
Yeah.
and just spin around.
Are you
so
telling
that's-
us that
Children
Hadouken
of the
lives
Corn
at a bus stop?
dressing.
No, and sorry guys, I got to do this for liability issues. The opinions are decon, are not the opinions of the Nightmare Roadshow. So don't go around attacking children. Anyway, damn, I guess this episode is over, but this was a fun show. So remember, guys, to. Are you done?
What? Just she wanted to be part of the show. Hello.
What? You should have gone with the one I
Sally.
made. Anyway,
Oh,
wait. What about her? She wants to be part of the show.
sweet. Look, me and her got
No.
the same hair.
She's beautiful. Anyway, so
Sorry if you hear knocking.
yeah, well.
I have a gremlin outside my door.
A gremlin.
Anyway, guys,
Yeah.
remember to like and subscribe, share the show. If you know anybody that you're like, damn, this person needs a visit from the Black Eyed Kids, share the show. Just send it to them. Send them right over. We have a merch store. I just designed a new shirt. You guys should check it out. Link is in the community tab.
First
So,
one in weeks. Sorry.
Yeah,
guys.
It's a cool looking shirt. You should get
Why
everybody
do I
should
feel
buy
like
one.
somebody's
Yeah,
looking over my
but-
shoulder?
it's like you have a Romanian child. So go ahead and do that. And this show was
Me?
excellent. So yeah, right there, boom. Are we done?
Children.
So that's it, yeah, children. What'd you say?
What?
What?
Huh?
Anyway, jeez. So remember, guys, to look both ways, especially if you find yourselves on Nightmare Road.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Goodbye.